Okay, it's 6 p.m. We're going to get started tonight. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. My name is Tony Bianchini. I'm a principal consultant with Environmental Resources Management. We're an environmental consulting firm with offices in New Jersey and across the U.S. We're here tonight for the CMC Steel Title V Renewal Public Information Session. Tonight's information session is part of CMC's compliance with the New Jersey's Environmental Justice Law and Administrative Order 2125. We're looking tonight to share more information with you about the CMC Steel Mill facility in Sayreville, which is at 1 Crossman Road North in Sayreville. Also, we're going to be sharing more information about the Title V permit renewal and looking to get public comment and questions from the public. I'll be facilitating tonight's information session, joined by other representatives from CMC, and we're looking forward to tonight's session. Bella, can you go to the next slide? Tonight's agenda are a few different key things. First, we're going to have some introductions from both me and representatives from CMC Steel. We're going to discuss the rules of engagement to have as productive and collaborative discussion tonight as possible. Mark Blair from CMC Steel is going to be discussing the facility, the company's work in Sayreville, more details about the Title V permit, and then turning it back over to me to discuss the environmental justice process and the cumulative stressors here in Sayreville. And finally, at the end, there's going to be a public outreach section, which we're going to talk more about what CMC did to communicate this information session to the public and what it does on a consistent basis to speak with the community. And then also give you a chance at the end to have public comment. There's a couple of acronyms you're going to hear during tonight's meeting. The first is New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. We're going to shorthand that to NJDEP or DEP. Environmental Protection Agency is EPA. The Environmental Justice Law, we're going to call that EJ. And then Administrative Order 2125 is AO. Next slide, Bella. Next, we're going to have introductions from CMC and from me at ERM. Mark will be on the camera in a minute, but he's going to introduce himself off camera. And I'll let Mark do that first. Here's Mark Blair, the company's Northeast Environmental Manager.
All right, good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. As Tony said, my name is Mark Blair. I'm the Northeast Area Environmental Manager here. I've been here at Steel, New Jersey for 16 and a half years.
Great. We also have Evelyn Adamkowitz. She's an environmental specialist at CMC.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Evelyn. I've been working as an environmental specialist here for about 7 years. And I've been living in New Jersey for about 20.
Great. Thanks so much, Evelyn. Next slide, Bella. If we could go to the next one too. Great. So next, the rules of engagement. We're joined by folks in the room from the CMC and Community Advisory Panel, Shirley Reed and Ernie Reed, as well as people on the phone. Everyone's going to be muted unless you're called upon at the end of the meeting during the public comment portion of the meeting. If you do have questions during the meeting on any of the slides, please feel free to put it in the Q&A chat. And we're going to read those questions first during the public comment portion, followed by live Q&A by folks in the room. And then also anybody on the call that wants to come off of mute, just please raise your hand. You could do that online at the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in from your phone, you press *9. And then if when we call upon you, please unmute yourself. If you're calling in on the phone, to unmute, you press *6. When we call on you, please share your name, share your city that you're in, and your public comment and question. This meeting is being recorded on Zoom. It's going to be available on DEP's YouTube page, probably in the next couple of weeks. And we encourage you to check that out as well. After tonight's meeting, folks will have a chance to also comment by email and also by mail. The email address is, I'm going to share that at the end too, but it's mark.blair, BLAIRE @cmc.com, or the CMC address. You get to Mark's attention at CMC 1 Crossman Road North in Sayreville, New Jersey, 08872. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Mark. He's going to share more details about the CMC facility and the company's work in Sayreville. If you could switch it one more slide, Bella. Thanks so much.
Switch classes here. So I got to switch classes, everybody. Slide 7. Yep. Okay. Okay. Good evening, again, everyone. I'm Mark Blair. Pleased to welcome you to this call tonight and talk about our facility here in Sayreville. The CMC Jersey Steel Mill is located at 1 Crossman Road North here in the borough of Sayreville. It was constructed originally in 1972. CMC acquired this facility in November of 2018, and the facility is now 9 of 1 CMC steel mills located in the United States. Our products contribute, at CMC here, we produce reinforcing bar or rebar, various sizes and steel grades, depending. And our products contribute to the building blocks of society, from highways to bridges to corporate buildings and stadiums. I'll give you an example. What's formerly known as the Tappan Zee Bridge, now the Mario Cuomo Bridge. In New York, all the rebar in that bridge came from this location here. The secured parking garage at the World Trade Center is all the rebar came from here. And if you drive along the Turnpike 287, the Parkway, if you see any green rebar, that's our epoxy coated rebar that came from here as well. So our rebar is used quite extensively all over the place. And as I said, it's a building block, for society, our highways and bridges, corporate buildings and stadiums. Here at CMC, we do provide very good paying jobs and benefits to our employees. We have over 311 employees here right now. And the tenure of a lot of these employees is amazing. We've got employees over 20 years, 25 years, 40 years. And just recently we have received we did receive the best companies to work for recognition from the U.S. News and World Report as one of the best companies to work for in our nation. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm doing both at the same time. And then CMC does host a quarterly community advisory panel meeting here. We've been doing that meeting for over 16 years here. And it's our way of communicating to the community. I'm very transparent. My team's very transparent to the community and about the company operations here, and any concerns that they may have or questions they may have regarding the operation. And then let's see. I think you can train. And here at CMC, we do believe in giving back to the community. We are it's part of our commitment to being a good neighbor and taking care of the environment for future generations. What we instill in all of our employees here constantly is we are part of the neighborhood. We are neighbors here, and we will conduct ourselves accordingly. And we are very active in the community. We have a number of ways of doing it. As I said, hosting a community advisory panel meeting here at the facility. We've been doing that over 16 years. And each year, CMC does release a sustainable report that looks at what the company is doing to protect the environment and preserve it for future generations. Also, this facility is one of the few steel mills, if the only steel mill, that is ISO 14001 certified, has been for over 15 years. ISO is an international standards organization, and we are certified by a third-party registrar. And this year we did complete our first climate risk analysis. And as a whole, our company has recycled about 1.8 million metric tons of scrap metal, which kept it going into the landfills. 99.9% of our raw material here at this location is scrap metal. The other 0.1% is just alloys, depending on the tensile strength of the rebar and what it's going to be used for. And we do use multiple cycle cascading systems to recycle the water that we use, and we recycle over 88% or up to 90% water. We've decreased our greenhouse gases by 12% and continue to increase our recycling of waste, which is up more than 5% in the past 3 years. And then also, as I said, we're very active in the community. We sponsor a variety of events and donate money and supplies and equipment to various organizations One of the ones that we do, which we've been doing for well over 15 years, is a Salvation Army Angel Tree program, which supports children and seniors in need. And we get great participation from the employees here at the mill, and also participants or members of our community advisory panel. They all join us in helping the kids and the seniors, because what they do is they come up with basically an angel with their wish list, and we do our best to provide everything on that wish list. So, and we've been very successful at it, and the kids have been very happy about it. We also support Bowl for Hunger. We've been doing that for 15 years. This was July was their 15th year, and we were just recently recognized by a friend of ours, Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin, because we constantly have been a supporter and a corporate sponsor for that event. We've also, donated scholarships, what we call the Diamond 5K scholarship, to the Sayreville Anti-Domestic Violence Campaign. We did we did support the Sayreville High School cheer team by getting them all brand new uniforms. Also the backpack drive here in Sayreville. And we did support the community garden here in the borough of Sayreville, which is sponsored by the Sayreville Environmental Commission. We do help out with middle school career day. And we did have a high school steel school where we taught, the high school students how steel is made, what all is involved, things like that. We've been supporting the Sayreville Fire Department and first responders here in the borough and throughout for quite some time by providing new turnout gear, jaws of life, oxygen, all kinds of things that we've helped provide to help support the community. All right, next slide, please. Now on the Title V permit, we are classified by the by the EPA and the DEP as a Title V facility. We are required by the EPA's Clean Air Act, directs NJ to develop and enforce permit programs, which they do, and we work with the DEP, and cites what facilities must do control emissions. CMC facility submitted its renewal to DEP back in June of 2021. CMC is now required, because that's fairly new with the EJ regulations, during its Title V permit renewal, which includes expanding public outreach and permit details. Next slide, please. And then at CMC, we do maintain the following significant source of equipment: a preheater and electric arc furnace. And the key to that is the preheater. What it does, it's considered what the nomenclature is called a Consteel process, which helps save on energy consumption, which is a good thing for the environment, because what the process does is the three-house baghouse fans draw the off gas from the electric arc furnace, which is melting the steel, and then the feed conveyor, what we call the preheat conveyor, that off gas is used to preheat the steel to about 800, 900 degrees Fahrenheit. So that helps on energy consumption quite a bit, which is good for the environment as well. And then after that, then it's sent up for refining and then casting into what we call billets, which are long steel rectangle things of steel, and then it's sent to what we call our rolling mill, and it's sent through 14 stands based on the size, depending on, and then it'll take it from a square to an oblong to a round, and then reduce that round to whatever size rebar that we're making. And then, as I mentioned before, we do have an epoxy coating operation here that basically they'll just heat the bar up so the epoxy powder can coat it. And then that's used again for anything pretty much with concrete. We'll have that green bar in there because of the concrete itself. It'll help it won't corrode the rebar. And we do have 5 electric diesel generators on site, and those are for to help mitigate any potential environmental impacts. Say we lose power, like, for example, using Hurricane Sandy as an example, which good part of the borough lost power for over 2 weeks, is those pumps were in place, and their primary function is to recirculate the water in the cooling towers so that we don't have an overflow and then have a negative environmental impact. So that's what those generators do, is keep the water circulating so that we don't have any issues. Like, for example, under Hurricane Sandy, we did not have any issues with water overflowing off site and stuff from our cooling towers because of those pumps and the generators. Next slide, please. And at CMC here, we've installed emission control devices to reduce equipment emissions to the atmosphere and the impact of the environment. Control devices listed in our Title V permit include a low NOx burner. That's the, as I was mentioning before, the billets, when they go to the rolling mill, they are sent to the billet reheat furnace, which heats the steel back up to about 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. And those are low NOx burners that were installed in 2005. And also our baghouse, which is for the mill shop. It is an 8-compartment baghouse, which has a total of 1,904 particulate filters in the baghouse with a control efficiency of 99%. Also, as part of that control is we have a bromated carbon system is injected at the inlet to the baghouse to control any potential mercury emissions that may be coming from the scrap itself. We do screen it before we even take it on site, but we use that as a precaution as well. And also something else I'll mention. When we, as I mentioned, that 99.9% of our raw material is scrap metal, but we also have, as a precaution to the neighborhood, the mill, and the environment, is we have a series of radiation detectors at the scale when trucks and or rail is coming in with scrap metal. That's our primary source to make sure that there's no radioactive material being brought in, mixed in with the scrap. And then also what we call our feed conveyor, there's another one there, and what we call our charge bucket. When we're starting up, there's detectors there. So we have multiple lines of defense to ensure that we do not inadvertently melt a potential radioactive source. So that's just other precautions that we take as well. And then let's see. I'll turn back. I'm gonna turn it back over to Tony. You're gonna bring up the dust mitigation, or you want me to do it?
If you want to talk about it.
And one thing I'll bring up, Tony and I were arguing. No, we're not arguing. Kidding. Is also another thing that we do for dust mitigation. Is we're very aggressive with it. Is we do have a permanent water truck on site that's constantly going through the mill and Crossman Road and the mill, just constantly all day long, the weather permitting. Obviously, if it's freezing, then we can't go out. Just to keep any potential fugitive dust from the road, from the trucks that are coming in and out. Also, we do have a contractor. It's a professional street sweeping company that comes here to the mill every day, and in line with the water truck, also sweeps the North Crossman Road constantly, and also the mill where there's concrete and asphalt. And then also we routinely apply a dust mitigation material on the earthen type material. It's called EnviroClean. It's very environmental friendly, but it also holds up very well for any potential truck traffic that may kick up dust from the dirt. And that holds up very nicely, and we apply that constantly. Also, another thing that we have is on North Crossman Road for trucks, is we do have signs on North Crossman Road where the trucks may be staged, and notifies them, and it's clearly labeled as a clear air zone, or clean air zone, I'm sorry, and the no idling rule there. So we do enforce that with the trucks when they're on site. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Tony to discuss the environmental justice law. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mark. We're going to talk next about environmental justice and the AO 2125. In September 2020, New Jersey State Legislature passed a new EJ law that required the DEP to look at public health and environmental stressors during its environmental permit reviews for permits like Title V for new, expanded, and existing facilities. CMC is subject to AO 2125 as it's a major permit source holder. As Mark mentioned before, CMC submitted its permit in June 2021. And then in April 2023, the DEP implemented its regulations. So CMC is under the AO and not the full EJ regulations. They're very similar. The differences are with the AO, no environmental justice impact statement is required. Simply the company sharing information about its Title V permit renewal and more details about that, as well as a virtual public information session and not a joint in-person and virtual session. This law and the AO is in place to ensure that facilities like CMC continue to communicate with their communities about their facility operations, about what's in their Title V permit, and also to get public input from the public. The DEP uses various tools for environmental justice in the state. One of the tools is EJMap, and the short link for that is bit.ly/EJMap. And I'm going to talk more about that in the following slides. Next slide, Bella. We're going to talk more about demographics and the cumulative stressors in Sayreville. As I mentioned before, the EJ law requires the DEP to look at 26 different public health stressors and environmental stressors during permit reviews. It is also looking at what an overburdened community is and defining that in a few key ways, three key ways, from the percentage of minority population in the OBC to the percentage of income level for the people that live there, and then also the percentage level of people that have English as a secondary language. And this area of Sayreville is designated as an OBC due to the higher percentage of residents identifying as lower income. And it's also considered to be an EJ-related area as it has a cumulative stressor value of 15, which is over the geographic point of comparison in the state, which is 13. And we're going to cover that more on some other slides. Bella, the next slide, please. Here's one of the first tools that you see on EJMap. Again, that website is bit.ly/EJMap. It comes up with this overburdened community stressor summary. All you have to do on the EJMap is to put in the company's address, 1 Crossman Road North in Sayreville, to see a lot of information about the company, from all the permits that it holds to the other types of facilities that are in the area that may contribute to cumulative stressors, to the makeup of the folks that live in the area. As I mentioned before, there's 15 cumulative stressors in this area. The first slide here shows you about half of them. Concentrated areas of air pollution are all considered to be stressors, with the exception of fine particulate matter. Railway is another cumulative stressor in this area. All of the contaminated site stressors are stressors in this area, from known contaminated sites to soil contamination deed restrictions to groundwater classification exception areas. Can you go to the next one, Bella? And then you'll see the other half of the report. Surface water is impaired in this OBC. You also see that there's a lack of recreational open space, a lack of tree canopy. All of the density proximity stressors are stressors, from the emergency planning sites to permitted air sites, which CMC is one, to the gypsy sites. And then unemployment is a higher percentage in this area compared to the rest of the state. Can you go to the next slide, Bella? So it's important to remember, as I mentioned before, that CMC is not a newly permitted Title V facility. This is just a Title V permit renewal. And additionally, the Title V permit renewal is potentially related to only 6 of those 15 stressors that I mentioned. So the concentrated areas of air pollution, the railway usage, and as I mentioned before, CMC is a permitted air site. The Title V permit renewal, importantly, does not increase air emissions and stressors. It's not going to be increasing railway traffic. The renewal also includes a facility-wide health risk assessment. And then, as Mark mentioned before, there's a number of dust mitigation measures that CMC does on a daily basis to keep down on dust. Next slide, Bella. one more, please. As you've heard tonight, CMC is committed to being transparent and communicating with its community. It's done that for a number of years, including this information session. We publish details about this information session in numerous places, from the DEP's Environmental Justice Calendar. We had an advertisement in the Star Ledger on September 24th. We mailed letters to property owners, tenants, and easement holders within 200 feet of the property. And we also communicated it multiple times to our community advisory panel, as well as the Sayreville Environmental Commission. Next slide, Ellen. We want to appreciate everybody joining tonight. As I mentioned, you'll have a chance on tonight's call to make a public comment. The public comment period is 60 days total. It started September 24th. It's going to end 30 days from today on November 24th. You can submit a comment to mark.blair@cmc.com. You'll see that.
B-L-A-I-R-E.
Yep. Or also to the mailing address in Sayreville. And now we have time for public comment. Everyone's going to have 3 minutes per public comment. I'll give you a warning at the 2-minute mark. If you have more to say after that 3 minutes, please let somebody else speak and then come back on later to make additional comments. We have everyone's email address for those who pre-registered for the session. So, but if there's another way you'd like us to respond to you in public comment, please let us know. As I mentioned before, we're going to take questions from the Q&A chat first, followed by live public comment. So I don't see any questions in the Q&A. Is there anybody that wants to come off mute and make a comment or a question? Please just raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any hands raised. I'm going to give folks in the room from our community advisory panel a chance to, folks have any questions?
We don't have any questions.
And this is, can you give us your name and your?
Ernie Reed. I'm the chairman of the Sayreville Environmental Commission. Shirley and my wife is also on the commission. She's here this evening. We've lived in this area since 1975, so we have seen a lot of big improvements with the plan here, and we have been on the action panel, advisory panel for since its inception. And I remember a number of years ago, under Mark's guidance, the mill did an air study for several years of monitoring the air. In fact, they placed a monitor in our backyard, which our grandkids loved.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, and every meeting we would have a full detailed report about what type of air we were breathing in the neighborhood. And just simply, they are very nice neighbors.
Great. Thank you so much, Ernie, for making a comment. Is there anybody else on the call that would like to make a comment or question? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to wrap it up. Again, public comment period is 60+ days from September 24th to November 24th. To submit a comment, you could do it by email or by mail. We appreciate everybody joining tonight.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, folks. Have a great night.